recruitment. Today I'm pleased to have Andy Fung join us to share his experience and his success stories. Andy is the General Manager of Pactera Asia Pacific Group, overseeing full P&L, strategic plans and business developments across Hong Kong and Greater Bay Area as part of Pactera Asia Pacific Group. So Andy, with the progress of technology, how did you keep up with the advancement within the industry?
It's very hard these days. It's a lot harder these days than where we used to be when I first started. Information is very transparent. It's easily transported. So the three main ones I would think of are the leading industries analysts, right? It's almost the Bible we have to follow. Who's making grounds, who are the leaders, right? Who are the newcomers, which there have been a lot of them in the past. The second, of course, is working with like yourself in ConnectedGroup to understand what your clients is looking for. What jobs you are looking for and who you're hiring for and what sort of positions are needed. So that's the second. And third is we interact in our role, and we have to with our clients a lot. Speaking to the CIO, there are new terms these days, as Chief Transformational Officer. These new roles have come up because of the importance of transformation. So speaking to those executives and understanding what's important to them is just as important as the Formula 2.
Right,
so that's it.
See. Thank you very much, Andy. I'm glad that CG can be of help.
Absolutely, can't do without you guys.
Thank you. Andy, so coming to a very important question, what are your views on future IT trends, and what kind of challenges do you foresee IT professionals will face in the coming few years?
Sure, I think the digital transformation, which I think literally started for the past few years, will continue. I think COVID definitely will expedite that. I think companies that have not thought about or did not value the importance or the urgency of the transformation will need to do it now and do it more. So I think that overall digital transformation will continue. What I'll see that will change would be more emphasis from the business side that they want to consume and purchase the services, meaning whether it's digital services or customer experience, they probably rely on vendors such as ours to help them deliver the services rather than building them themselves. Because time to market is important. They can't wait for too long. Then their competitors are doing it very well. So I think first thing is you should be more reliant on providers that can offer the service so the enterprise can consume and purchase. The second part is, I think, more about pervasive. Nowadays, everyone use your digital mobile device, your mobile phone to interact, to place an order for a taxi, to go and purchase food. I think that would be part of what people's behavior is from the consumer side. I think that will in turn impact how enterprise serve their clients. So if I'm someone that just order my meal via a phone when I go to work, I would expect similar type of efficiencies. So I think enterprise, let's say B2B, have to think about people using technology, how they consume it in their everyday life is changing so much that they have to go and adapt. So the enterprise applications that they build have to consider the same type of user experience, the same convenience. So that is the big part where I think will continue to be more. Last but not least, I think big data will continue to play a big part, as in when all this data is being accumulated, there'll be more analytics. People will be fed information like, say, what you like to eat, where you like to go. Be more of that predictive via the application of AI. Now, of course, with all that, the challenges will be someone like myself and yourself and the team is how you keep up. Because when things move so fast, you don't have time to learn things in years, right? Because your competitors, your customer will know more than you do. So I think the importance to upkeep yourself quickly will be the biggest challenge. To be relevant, to be up to date is important. So I think that will be the biggest challenge for all levels of people involved in technology.
Yeah, I see. Maybe even for people outside IT industry as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because nowadays you speak to a CFO, you speak to a CEO, they will tell you, they speak about agile, they speak about transformation, in a very fluent way. So it's not only your IT counterpart in the past you deal with, talk about bits and bytes, about data center, about throughput. It's about business decisions. So no matter what role you play, despite you are a developer or a scrum master, you need to be able to translate that technology into business value, so your customers can understand what you try to do for them. So I guess the motto is, don't do technology for the sake of it, but you have to understand what impact it will have on the business, and that will become make yourself be more relevant.
Right. Thanks, Andy. That's a very insightful piece of advice.
Sure. Thank you.
So Andy, I believe that a lot of young IT professionals would like to learn from you. Do you mind sharing some of your key elements of success with us?
Right, I wouldn't say success, but I've got some lessons learned, right? I've screwed up in the past, so I guess our advice to the young people is to avoid those same mistakes I've made. I think first up is having an open mind. I think whether you're young or you're as old as me, I think always having an open mind and be objective is important. That will make you be more willing to learn new things. So I think that's first is open mind. And of course, if you're into technology, you have to know your stuff well, because clients will know, and they are very conversant. They are much as knowledgeable as you might be. So having the core content skills is important. One thing I've noticed in the young people is they're good at maybe doing developments, but they're not as willing to communicate. And I think communication skills, able to articulate and understand and listen, I think those are some core skills where no matter what profession you're in, not only IT, the ability to go and understand and listen carefully as to what the problem is first before you start to solve them is important. So I think young people is, before you jump into solving, jump into solutioning mode, always try to understand what the problem is and define it. Then you can prioritize and solve it. So I think one, I guess, important tip for young people is to listen and listen well. Not just hear, but understand what the issues, and then start to have solutions.
Right, I see. So the key elements are open communications, to listen well and not just to hear well.
Correct.
Right, I would definitely bear that in mind.
Sure. You're young enough, so that should apply to you.
So Andy, I understand that you need to interview job seekers from time to time. So what are the top 3 factors that you would look for in job seekers?
First up, I would like someone that's prepared.
Yep.
Right. Sometimes people don't forget about it. Right. When you interview for a role, you need to know the background of the company. Right. I know it's a given, but you don't see it every single time. So come prepared about the material is important. Able to speak clearly about what you've done, and always be honest and factual. It's always okay then when the question came, it's not something you've done, it's okay to say you do not know. The worst experience is someone try to make things up along the way, instead of saying I haven't done it before, so you hope to get the opportunity to do that. But when start people making up stories and so on, that come across as being very ungenuine. And overall, I think presentable is important, because in this world you interface with different people. You can't work in silo. You have to deal with partners and customers, your co-workers. So someone's able to articulate and presentable is important as well. So those are key areas that I look for in candidates.
I see. Thanks, Andy. Okay, Andy, so what kind of advice would you like to give to job seekers in Hong Kong?
Right, so obviously before the pandemic, my advice would be look for something that you enjoy. Because in the long term, if you work on something that you actually enjoy, in general you do a better job. So that's an advice I always give. But of course, during this time that we're in, I'm very pragmatic, very practical. So nowadays, survival is more important. You do not want to be away from employment for too long, because the market moves very quick. So maybe something to consider nowadays for someone seeking for jobs is maybe be less selective. Right, it's okay to maybe take a so-called smaller job, if you will, and make sure you stay productive. Make sure you keep producing and learning, rather than want to look for my previous job that I used to have and wait for months and years. So it's always a fine balance, right? So I think nowadays the criteria and the priorities could be quite different. But my advice is to go and pick something, start doing it, and maybe always look for something more suitable to oneself when the market recovers.
Right, okay. Thank you. So Andy, how has this pandemic situation affect your workplace?
I mean, the world is never the same again, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think for the past 12 months and I don't know how much longer, all our lives have been different. Not just work, but your family life, everything is different. So one thing I've learned, is to expect the unexpected.
Okay.
Right? I think it's always important to anticipate things will change.
Yeah.
Nowadays, change is constant. I think that's the term. So I think one thing to learn is to always open to new ideas. So it's the first time that the team has used Zoom or similar type of tools.
Right.
And I think the lesson I've learned in that is that maybe having to work in an office doesn't have to be the only way. You're actually able to function and operate and just as efficient by having such tools. In fact, you save the travel time. You can get on a call fairly quickly. You can bring people from all parts of the world together. So in a way, when people think of it as a substitute, when it's not as good as face-to-face, I get it, right? It's nothing better than this conversation where we can meet face-to-face. But I see this type of tools not only as a substitute, they can actually enhance and do things probably more than you probably could not have. So always thinking about half full rather than half empty.
Right.
This is a tool actually allow us to do something more which we could not have done before.
Right.
So I think constantly thinking what you can get out of it and the positive is important. So I guess the biggest takeaway is always anticipate, take nothing for granted.
Yep.
And I think last but not least, one thing I've learned is to care about your well-being, care about our staff, care about how they will operate in the customer side. So we make sure that we prefer to not work and stay at home and don't worry about the business results because ultimately health and well-being is most important. I think we've learned that a lot more during this pandemic than ever before. So I think a lot of values and the perception have changed forever.
Right.
So that's it.
Right, I see. So always try to be positive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So Andy, do you have any career advice for young IT professionals?
Yes. I think one key advice I would like to give from my experience is that when young people are given the opportunity to do some new things, normally people will start to think, oh, what's in it for me, right? What am I getting in return to doing more? My advice to especially young people is when you're given the chance to do something new, you actually gaining from the experience.
Right.
So, treasure it, do it. So before you ask for returns, make sure you do it first and do it well. I always believe the rewards will eventually even out, right?
Okay.
If you don't get that day one promotion or the raise you expect by taking on a bigger role, don't get too upset about it because you're learning in the process. I'm a firm believer in my career life, and I've seen others, that eventually if you do it constantly, your return and reward will come. So not to be so-called too short-sighted would be my first advice.
I see.
Make sure you learn, enjoy what you do, deliver it, make sure you show you're good at it. I'm sure people will treasure and you'll be rewarded in due course.
Okay.
But don't spend too much time negotiating how much I'm going to get on day one. It would be my first advice.
Right.
Yeah. The second part will be about, I think, your personality and mindset. Be genuine, be straightforward with what you want to say. I think people appreciate honesty.
Right.
Everybody does, so no matter what profession. So young people starting out should learn to tell the truth. I think truth matters.
Right.
And if you made a mistake, admit you make a mistake, and find a way to resolve it. If you build that behavior of always speaking the truth, then people look for your personality and your character and your credibility first. Whatever skills, be it technical or business, that can always be learned. But I think first and foremost, if you come across as someone that's genuine, that's trustworthy, then I think that's a good first step. So I think that are some fundamentals I would like to give to younger generations.
I see. So keep learning, be sincere, be genuine, and be more long-sighted would be your recommendation.
Yes, for someone that's starting out, yes, correct.
Okay,
correct, yes.
thanks, Andy. Andy, so what are the key skills that you developed in the role of general manager?
Once I start roles such as a general manager, the thing I look for is first, I need to show a lot of empathy. Right. We are measured by business results, and we translate to our team to do that. And sometimes not everyone move in the same pace. So I think having the empathy and understanding that there are challenges for my team to deliver the results is one thing that I've learned. And be patient and give them time. And more importantly is myself step in and help them. So I'm part of the team. We win and lose together. So it's, when someone lost a deal, it's not someone else's fault. I am just as accountable because everyone is looking at the same results. We measure by the same success or failure. So once you put yourself in the team, that you internalize that we do well and not well together, I think that will translate into trust. So one thing I continue to develop every day is to ensure, remember that I'm just part of the team, despite my title. I'm just someone that do a different role than they are. I'm not more important than they are. I'm more important than the PM or developer. I just play a different role. And once you behave like this and your team understand that, you have to be respected. I think people will try to do more and better because they understand everyone's aligned with that objective. And that's it. I think myself always learning new things every day. In this job, in the past 2.5 years, I've learned about AI, RPA. I've learned about how that can be applied to our customers, how much gain it will bring. I think constantly learning new things, being open-minded about technology is important to stay relevant. So that's something I learn every single day. And that has helped me so far in my career.
That's good. Lastly, Andy, do you have anything special to share with us?
Yes, sure. Apart from work and career, I carry certain mottos in life. Let's say guiding principles, which I've learned from my mentors or picked up myself. And there are 3 things that I've learned to be quite useful, applying to all facts of life. It's called, the one is be effective and not efficient. So what does it mean? Effective means do the right things. Efficient means do things right. Now, there's a subtle difference. You see people keep doing the things and they're very efficient, very fast, but they might not be the right things to begin with. So deciding where you spend your time and energy, having high impact results is important. So I think that differentiates someone that's very efficient as a worker versus a leader, because a leader will look for things that can do and make a difference and have high impact. I think that's the first part. The second would be people don't know what they don't know, right? So that means never make assumptions, right? Things change all the time, and what you've learned, what seems to work in the past might not work in the future. So always operate in the sense that I don't want to make any assumptions going into a conversation with a client meeting. I think that I also have learned to be quite effective. Finally, everything is relative. You can't strive for absolute excellence or perfection. I don't even think that actually exists. But what you want to do in your career or in your life is to make sure you're doing something that's incremental gain, right? Because you're going towards a direction, but you want to go and achieve perfection from day one, it'll be too difficult, it'll take you too long. So everything is relative, means that when you describe a problem, when you describe a role, when you describe an experience, you have to compare with something else, because nothing is absolute. So that's a bit superficial, right? But I feel it's important to guide me through my life when I make decisions, whether it's career or otherwise. It's helped me along the way and hopefully be relevant to some of the folks that are listening to this.
That definitely helps me in the first place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing today, Andy. I'm sure that we all benefit a lot from your valuable advice and suggestions.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the dialogue. I think it helped me think through some of the things I've done in the past.
Yep.
And I sure hope whatever I've shared able to help some job seekers or young people starting out, and hopefully be useful to them. So always a pleasure. Thank you.
I look forward to interviewing you again.
Same here.
Perhaps
Same here.
next year.
I can't wait. Thank you
you.
for having me. Thank you.